Since I took over this program, I've tried to make it more realistic by making a collaborative work project. And each year I've done something different. One year we did meat smokers, and then we did metal art, and then we did catapults, and as we increased in the ideas, I started inviting the other schools, and now it's become something bigger.
The idea for the motorized drift trikes, or the drift trikes in general, kind of came from Shaun, and the rest of us just hopped on board because it's a fun project. A lot of headaches and here and there about logistics of buying material and making them work and run, but the student involvement has been exceptional.
I was part of a team that built an awesome motorized drift trike, and basically we've been working on it for a couple weeks now, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Originally, when we heard about the trike contest, we actually weren't going to participate because we were all doing different things, and then we kind of came to the point where it was about halfway through where everyone else was building it, and we decided, why aren't we building one? Let's just do it. And so we kind of just came up with the design. We drew it on the computer using SolidWorks. And then from there, we just said, okay. We all just kind of started working on our own pieces and started putting it together.
You have to plan it out, you have to draw it, you have to think of what's going to benefit you the most when it's done. And I mean, even on a smaller project, you could still be working as hard as someone on a bigger project. It's just a full process of thinking it out and having to deal with problems that might arise.
The difficult part was doing it all by myself. It was really hard because I didn't really have anybody else to help me hold or steady the metal, so I had to do it all by myself and use it multiple different ways.
Some of the challenges that I've had would probably mainly be like the axle and the engine, getting it lined up, like the hangers and stuff, so the chain's not coming off, and make sure the engine mount is like welded good, because I had it running good, but I took it out and rode it and the engine mount broke, so I had to re-weld that. That's probably the biggest challenge, was getting that lined up.
The challenges I've had building my trike is mostly the engine and the axle shaft. Having to get all the measurements exact so that nothing wrong happens, so the chain doesn't break or anything.
You have to be so precise with everything, because if you think about it, if you're even a half inch off, then your entire project could go wrong. Say with a building, you can't have a lopsided building type of thing. And so you just have to make sure that everything is perfect, your cuts are perfect, because if one piece is longer than the other, then it's not going to fit right, it won't be square, and situations like that. And if you do get that, then a lot of the time you have to tear everything apart and just redo it, because there's no other way of fixing it. You can't cut corners in something like this.
I was putting all of my effort, all of my time. I'd stay after school sometimes to make sure it was ready and good and all the welds were right. If they weren't, then I'd have to restart or grind it down.
We started out with the idea of having it be like with the axle on the bottom and everything, and then when we started putting it together, it was looking a lot better, and that's when it gets fun. The joy of finally building something and getting to ride it is just awesome.
The fun part for me, is actually creating something, is taking certain materials and turning them into something new.
The thing I like about the drift trikes is I imagined it. It was cool just watching it slowly come together and then end up looking at it now and being like, holy cow, I built that from scratch.
So we've done the drift trikes in the past, about 4 years ago, but we've never done motorized drift trikes, so we're taking a little one step farther each time. The actual day of the event, I was actually overwhelmed by the public support. I thought it would just be the racers, and it ended up being, 42 racers on the motorized, but I would say each of them brought a couple people, because there were probably 400 or 500 people there at the event, which this particular event, there was only 5 schools invited, just Nebo School District. favorite part of the day was the fact that the kids were able to actually build something and then perform with it and actually use it in a situation that it did come down to design. It did come down to, you know, ability to drive it, the ability to put it together and make it work right. On the actual judging for the motorized, it was the fastest times. Freestyle one where they're coming off the ramp, that one was judged by the crowd. We wanted to get the crowd involved, and I think the kid almost pulled off a 720 and won it. So that's what the crowd liked. But again, safety is a big deal, and so we're trying to make it as safe as possible with, you know, the least amount of opportunity to get hurt. A lot of our feedback was that it is one of the better activities that their kids have ever attended or participated in. And that's why we want to keep going forward with it, just because I truly feel like it is an event that's worth doing again. But let's give him a big round of applause one more time.
Six years ago, the program had about 80 kids in it. It was only a part-time program. And in the last 6 years, we've doubled that number. We're about 160 to 180 kids. We have 3 levels of welding. We have an entry level, an intermediate level, and an advanced level. The seniors that stick it out all 3 years do have an opportunity to get industry standard certifications, so they could leave here, and I've had a few kids walk right onto a job site, use the skills they've learned here at Maple Mountain, and start making a career at 18 years old.
The idea of getting away from it's a hard job or a dirty job, but it's also a dirty, hard, terrible job that pays really well and can support a family. And so I think that's what we're looking for, is the people that are willing to put their effort in to get something that'll be rewarding in the end.
Some of us want to be certified, so as soon as we get out of high school, we can go get a job somewhere at a small shop or a machine factory or something. And what we learn here teaches us the skills like STIG, MIG, and TIG will help us so we can get out there and just go right to work with the skills that we are learning here.
So far, the plan is to use high school welding as a step up towards career.
There's something to be learned in these kind of programs, and that it's not just teaching you, how to weld or how to work a machine and wood shop. It's showing you how to be responsible and hard work ethic, and pushing you forward so that you know that you're prepared to get out there in this world and you're prepared to take on so many things.
I've had several students, very well-trained students come through here, and the reason why they did so well is because they put in extra time. The bells rang, you can still hear people welding. Those are the people that do succeed. The thing that I tell them when they come into my class the first week, I say, you're gonna learn 3 things in this class. Welding's gonna be a perk, that's not one of them. I said, you're gonna learn responsibility, you're gonna learn respect, and you're gonna learn honesty. Every time I walk out into the industry and ask them, what are you looking for in an employee? They're not looking for the skills all the time. They're just looking for someone that'll show up on time, work the whole time, and show respect to their boss.
A lot of people think success is just kind of a straight line, and it's kind of like, here I am, here's what I want, and you go like this. Where in all reality, success kind of goes up and down, and you get lost, and you have to go back and fix something. If you love it, then you need to put your heart and soul into it. If you don't love it, but you like it, then yeah, keep going for it and learn, because I mean, it's a useful skill that anyone could have.
If you really know what you're doing and you practice hard, then you can really get a good job. It's such a high demand right now. The average age of a welder is 54, so it's definitely a dying breed, and they're looking for a lot of welders. And so if you're really good, just practice, then you'll be just fine. You can get a job just about anywhere you want if you just follow your dreams and you really work hard for it.
Welding is the backbone of the United States and even the world in general. Everything you look at in some form or another has been welded together. You really, I challenge you to take a look at something that there's not a weld involved in it. Whether it's even plastic or a synthetic material or obviously metal. But the sad thing is that there's a lot of baby boomers in the welding industry that are retiring, and right now there's a demand projected for the next 15, 20 years that we're going to be short about 200,000 welders. That means in supply and demand that it's a good time to be a welder. You can make a good living. If you're willing to get your hands dirty, you can make really good money and support yourself and your family, and it's not just a job, but it's a career.